Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to At the Inn. We're just fellowshipping today. We don't really have much in line of a specific topic. I mean, we covered David Fincher last week. I didn't have time to catch up on another movie. I know, Mike, you caught one of them. But so we are going to get back to our David Fincher stuff. It will, we're going to intersperse it here or there.
Yes.
But for now, we're just going to sit back, talk about whatever, see what's been going on in each other's lives. With me, as always, Mike and Seb. Boys, how's it going?
Well, first, shout out to Mike for recording the new music for our intro. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank you.
pretty groovy. I love it.
Playing
Yeah.
with beats in the old garage band at
We'll switch it up from time to time just to
Sure.
get a new flavor going on. It's all
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Really
good.
I
good
do
job,
enjoy
Mike.
that. Like I have 4 or 5 openings saved.
Yeah.
I think we need to do another retro video game
Sure.
episode because I really liked
Yeah.
what I did with the opening for that. But yeah, Mike, absolutely great job on the music. You've done I think that's your 3rd or 4th one that we've put up, and then the most often heard one, that ominous sort of marching tune, that is just a generic tune from the program I used to splice all the video stuff together. So
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't mind that one, but it doesn't have the personal touch either,
No,
right?
yeah.
Like this is a Mikey
It's-
production.
It's sometimes because I haven't been playing much guitar lately or anything, so I kind of been dipping sort of into all the loops.
Synth world.
Yeah, synth world, and just finding stuff and changing keys of music and just making it, or speeding up, slow it down, whatever, adding different weird instruments. Like there's a flute in there somewhere too. I don't know why. I'm fascinated with the flute in music right now. Don't ask. Don't
Man,
Matt, don't
shout
even
out-
go there.
Shout out to Jethro Tull,
Okay.
buddy.
That's right. It's not Skin
I-
Flute Friday before you even get there, so we won't even
That wasn't
start.
where I was gonna go.
Oh,
I was gonna
okay.
thank you for your Ron Burgundy phase.
Yeah. And so I come down here, I turn the lights down, and I just play with music and just see what comes out. And I pass it by the fam first, and like, what do you think? They all look at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? But it's very well known in my house that I love sort of disco-y type music, so I just find it very easy to do.
There's
So.
nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, let's take a look at Dave Grohl's drumming style. Most of their Nirvana drum tracks are based off of disco and funk
Absolutely.
from the
Yep.
70s. And like,
Yeah.
he's pointed it out in interviews. He's like,
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, everyone thinks I'm a great drummer. It's like, no, man, I fucking ripped this off from a Boney M song or whoever.
Right. Exactly.
The Gap Band or something like that. Some disco
Yeah,
band.
something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the
It's like-
Foos did that
interview.
disco tribute to the Bee Gees called the DGs, and I think it's
Yes.
like 5 songs,
The
and
Foo
it
Fighters.
is amazing. Like I can't remember what songs they do, but my God, it's so good. And Dave sings like they do, like that high register that is on the next level of high, where it's like, okay, I think my windows are going to shatter high. Like he does it,
Mhm.
and it's awesome. And I don't think his voice was augmented. I think that's just him able to do it. So it's just fun. A good beat, good driving beat. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I dig it. Like, you sent some stuff over. I really enjoyed the electronica one, but
Mhm.
I can just imagine you playing this for your wife and her going, I just got a headache. I know what you're
Yeah.
thinking. I just got a headache.
I don't get you, man. What the hell?
And Mike asks her, "Do you want to make a video?"
And she's like, and that's a quick no.
I can easily see her going, "Wait, yeah, with who?"
Yeah, right. So you're directing the video, right? Oh no. But yeah,
She's got her freebie 5 list out. So, okay, hold on. Who's in town?
right. Yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
Well,
It
I
is
wasn't going to
right.
order pizza tonight, but you know what?
Amazing.
Well, no,
Um,
our pizza delivery person is no, I don't think.
Yeah. Anywho,
Anyways.
speaking of the Foo Fighters, so
Yeah.
yesterday I was showing this show on BritBox on Amazon Prime called QI. Have you guys ever seen this?
No.
Okay, it's
Why does that
like a
sound
British
familiar?
it's like a British
It's a
game
quiz
show.
show,
It's
right?
yeah, it's kind of a quiz show. It's It almost looks like a panel discussion. It's the one lady host, and it used to be Stephen Fry, but I can't remember the name of this lady for the life of me because I've only just watched it. But they
Yes.
have a bunch of comedians and a celebrity on there, and it's very historical stuff. And it's not like they got buzzers, but it's very loose. There's no actual point system really. It kind of reminds me of Chris Hardwick's old game show, and the name is eluding me right now.
The Wall?
But
Is it The Wall?
no, his old quiz show.
Oh, the quiz show. Oh, the quiz show.
Yeah,
Okay.
which was just basically just comedians, and he's awarding random points.
Wasn't it called the quiz show? Wasn't it called the quiz show?
No, I'll have to look it up in a couple.
It's
of
like
minutes.
it's like if you can imagine like a quiz show with Whose Line Was It Anyways? Kind
Yes.
of amalgamate those two together, and
That
it's
sounds
like-
amazing.
yeah, so she asks very specific questions, and the comedians usually come up with hilarious answers.
Yeah, and it's all
'cause
historical
it's-
facts and
yeah.
figures too, right? Like, and they had getting to the where my jumping off point on this was, they had Corey Taylor of Slipknot and Stone Sour on one episode that
Oh,
I saw
wow.
yesterday. This guy's hysterical. He was on our first Jericho cruise, and the dude is funny. It was fantastic, and somehow we got off on a tangent on that, and a friend of the show, Sarah, looked up a video and handed me his Corey Taylor doing a show going, this is a cover of one of my favorite bands, and I haven't tried this before, I hope I don't fuck it up, and it's this long preamble. And what I thought he was going to play was like some Alice in Chains or something like that, because he did a set for us on that first cruise, and I have a bunch of videos on that, and it ended up he broke into Foo Fighters, and I'm like, that's
Nice.
fantastic. Yeah, so I'm love me the Foos. Dave Grohl's drumming, he's so humble on a lot of his stuff, especially if you read his book, and I've been promoting this a few times. I really should finish it. Can't say enough about it, and it's cheap on Amazon too. Like, it's a relatively quick read. It's just I don't pick it up enough. I think I've picked it up twice, and I'm 90% done.
Oh wow!
I should finish it because it's not my book, and I should return it to Sarah because I've had it for almost a year now.
Oh, ouch!
Yeah,
Did
that's
you guys-
that's where my reading is.
Did you guys
So-
know that he was in Stone Sour before he was in Slipknot?
Yes.
I mean, he started the band, I think it was 92, and Slipknot was like late 90s, I think.
Yes.
He's
Yep.
in like a bunch of bands, isn't he? He does like solo stuff too. Corey
Yeah, I
Taylor.
remember Slipknot was getting big, and I never really got into them, and I probably should go back and give them another chance. But Stone Sour I had heard of, Stone Sour I had listened to. I didn't get really deep into them, but
they
it
have
was
some good
there.
songs.
And then it's like, wait, the lead singer of Stone Sour is in what band now? Like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
Stone
he's
Sour.
completely shifted gears.
I didn't know about Stone Sour until like many years ago, like
Yeah.
into the 2000s, really.
Yeah.
So
Well, because originally it was him and the other guitar player. What's his name? Jim Root. They were both from Slipknot, and then Jim left. I think Jim left whenever he left, but now it's just Corey and his buddies. But yeah,
Mhm.
Stone Sour is just it's an easier listen, right? It's a little
yeah,
more.
it's more hard rock, right?
Yeah, it's
Like,
a
it
little
looks
more
like
in the Metallica vein, kind of not so much.
I wouldn't even go there. I'd say more in the Foos vein. Like it's that
Well,
they don't
90s
really.
Metallica, really. If you
Yeah. Okay. Like
not 80s, obviously
stuff-
not the
stuff that
thrashy stuff.
shouldn't have made the Reload album style, but yeah, it's in that hard rock, radio friendly hard rock thing. And one of their albums, I think it's straight out of Burbank, has a ton of covers on it,
Really?
including Creeping Death.
Yeah, that was like
Mhm.
Children of the Grave, and that was
Yeah.
really good. That was
Children of the Grave, Creeping Death, Wild Horses. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on there. It's and then Down in a Hole. Down in the Hole. Yeah, and Alice in Chains cover as well, which I do have acoustic video footage of from the first cruise, which was fucking the great set. Actually, I might share one of those because he got interrupted by the ship next to us pulling out that we had firmly cussed out already. I find a news story on that too, because we did make the Canadian news for doing that too. I think that was the Disney ship. you put a bunch of wrestling fans together, we're going to chant for anything, and the chant of "fuck your boat" came up. They interrupted Corey, and we lost it.
Oh,
The
geez.
"fuck your boat" chant went up hard, and then probably 4 or 5 songs later, our ship started pulling out of port in Nassau, and our ship interrupted Corey, and so it turned into "fuck our boat."
Oh, jeez.
Like, we turned 100% turned heel on the captain on that one, but it was such a good show watching Corey go. We had made at the hotel the morning we boarded the ship. I had run into one of the comedians, Craig Gass, at the front desk, and we had a chat. And my wife was outside having a cigarette and ran into one of his buddies, Brian Bedane, and one of his other guys that was there. I think it was just a buddy of theirs. He wasn't one of the comedians to my knowledge. So my wife comes in, it's like, "Oh my God, I was just talking to one of the comedians." I'm like, "So was I." And we saw him on board, and he had told me in the line that, or at the front desk, he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming to your show." He had asked me what I was looking forward to, and I listed all this stuff, but because I didn't really recognize him in person, because he's a big voiceover guy, a big radio guy, very, very funny, very good impressionist. And I had turned away to staple our luggage tags on there, and he was talking to the front desk, and he said something. I went, "Fuck." I just had a 5-minute conversation with one of the talent. I'm like, "You're Craig Gass." And so we had a good 15-minute chat. And he's like, "My show tonight is aimed at one person. If you see me afterwards, let me know if you can guess who it was."
Oh.
And it was 100% aimed at Corey Taylor. 100% aimed
That's
at Corey.
awesome.
And he was fucking with Corey the entire boat, the entire time. He'd get on the announcements, on the shipwide announcements. He does a great Gene Simmons impersonation. And so he did a couple of announcements as Gene Simmons and announced that to the entire boat it was Corey Taylor's birthday. Was not. So Corey is walking around the boat and he's getting happy birthdays from her. He's like, "God damn it, Craig." And just completely fucking with him. But we were talking with Brian and with Craig on the way out, and they're glad handing everybody. He's like, "Oh, hang on for a second. We'll introduce you to Corey." And so Corey's one of the last one that comes out, and we're standing there, and they got into like a friend chat. And if you've ever run into people that somebody else knows and they just start chatting and it gets really awkward for you to stand there because nobody's introduced you, it got to that stage, right? Especially since we've only known Craig for a handful of minutes, right? Like we met him less than 12 hours beforehand. And it's like this, and we're just standing there with the biggest star on the boat, probably the biggest star or the second biggest star of all 5 cruises. That isn't Jericho himself, obviously, and including Jericho, really. I mean, it's Corey freaking Taylor, right? And we're just gonna go. We're gonna go. And like Brian had looked up, or the buddy had looked, and I'm like, "No, we're just gonna. This is awkward now. We're just standing here waiting to. Yeah, no, that's cool. And you can't interrupt because like, oh, hi, yeah, no, I've known Craig. We go way back, at least 10.5 hours. I mean, it was
at least till last night.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
So I mean, and just anytime Corey did anything, he was freaking hysterical on that ship. MVP player the first cruise. He was probably the name that they dropped late in the talent announcements. Yeah. And just really put it over the edge because people are like, "Oh, you're going on the wrestling cruise." Yeah, who's going with that? And running a bunch of names. Corey Taylor, like, "You pardon?" It's like, "Yeah, he's doing an acoustic set for us."
That's cool.
Right. So that's probably $150 ticket if you go to the QE.
Sure.
I mean, it was just added value. We'd already paid for it. We're like, "Oh, cool. We're getting a free Corey Taylor show." Well, not really. You paid for this thing. No, I paid for all the rest of this shit. Corey Taylor got added late. So to me, I'm getting a Corey Taylor show for free.
Nice.
Corey Taylor.
Yeah. And then, second biggest star on the boat, second only to Gabriel Iglesias, who came with us on the second cruise, Fluffy himself.
He's good.
But
Mike's not really that into comedians though, but
no,
I was like, I don't know. I had no who the hell. I knew Craig Gass because all my years of listening on Stern, he was on that a lot.
Yes, he was.
My new favorite comedian is that Nate Bargatze guy.
Okay.
He's got a couple specials on Netflix, and he's so funny, man. He's so hilarious. He does one bit about golfing where he takes his wife golfing, and he's like, if anyone has ever gone golfing, it is the most specific time sensitive activity you can do. When your tee time is 2:01, it literally means your tee time is 2:01, you
Mhm.
know. And so we're driving up, it's 1:58, and my wife is like, I just need to go to the washroom. And he's like, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nope.
that
You're holding it.
happened.
Yeah, that's
And then
unfortunate.
so he goes, what I ended up doing is like, okay, just give me a driver and a ball. You go to the bathroom and just meet me halfway down the fair lane. I did the first four rounds of golf with my driver because she went to the gift shop after. She went to
Sure.
a drink. So he does this whole bit about golfing, which is freaking hilarious. But he does a lot of like marriage stuff. Yeah, no, he's good. If you have he's very dry too. Like he's like a dry comedian. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of
Mhm.
stuff, his stuff on TikTok and a couple of the specials on Netflix. So he's my current favorite. And then this oh man, what's his name? I think it's Shane Giles or Shane Giles.
Mhm.
He comes up on my TikTok recently a lot, and Matt Rife as well. Matt Rife
Yeah.
is like all over TikTok.
Yes, yes, he is. He's
Shane
freaking
Gillis,
everywhere.
that's his name.
Shane Gillis.
Yeah, he comes
I
up a lot.
You know, and we were talking about this earlier, but I just saw Bert Kreischer out in Abbotsford, and
That's
that
right.
the machine.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
It was hysterical, and
That's an iconic bit, the machine bit. That's gonna go down in like comedy history. That whole like
Oh.
14-minute the machine bit. If anyone hasn't watched it, just YouTube the machine and Bert. You don't even
Yeah,
have to
start
spell his
spelling
last
Bert.
name. Yeah, it's about his time in high school where he goes to Russia, and it's freaking hilarious.
yeah. He at 22 years old, he accidentally joins the Russian mob.
Oh, sorry, it's college. You're right. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a great bit. Saw it a couple years ago. I didn't realize how old it was until Thursday night. He's like, "Yeah, I did this bit for the first time, recorded it like 10 years ago, and I threw it up. Thought nothing of it. Woke up the next morning, my wife's sitting in the bed. She's like, this blew up," and it's like he got a couple 100,000 views overnight, and now it's at like 8 billion or something like that, or 800 million. It's ridiculous.
That's a lot.
And
Right.
they have now released a movie called The Machine
With Mark Hamill.
with Mark Hamill. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. It's it's on our list to watch, but we kind of haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, I mean, he did like a 2-hour set. His first opening guy, Mark Smalls, I think it was pretty funny. I can't remember the name of the girl that was the second opener, but she was not, and she did a really bad job
She was
of
not.
crowd work.
Oh,
and
really?
kind of got offensive with her Canadians versus Americans humor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, none of it landed, and like it was like a 20-minute wet fart in church. But then
Oh,
Bert did 2
geez.
hours, and it was weird 'cause my wife was with me, Sarah was with us, and then Jen and Greg, two other friends of ours. And Sarah and I are huge on the stand-up comedy, and what the three of us found was the audience was a lot like watching anything on the boat, because it's like people are just shouting things out at random, and what they're doing is they're squirreling Bert. So he's in the middle of a story, somebody yells something, he goes off on a tangent over there, he goes, what the fuck was I talking about? And so he's got to come back 3 or 4 times to tell these stories. I mean, he got way off on one. It took him probably a half hour to get back to it, which was awesome. And even he's like, what is this show? What is this place? Like, what the hell is going on? I've never had a show this so far off the rails. And he goes, I'm going to finish this story, and then I'm going to tell you the one you want, and then we're all going home. And it took him a half hour to finish the story after he said that, because he got squirreled 3 more times.
He just
That's
goes
hilarious.
on tangents. It's good.
Especially about his daughters, which is
yeah.
awesome. I'm currently working on teaching my friend's 5-year-old daughter how to drop quotes from, I think his daughter's name is Isla. It's like, get her done, big guy. Or get her done, son. And that's what I was working on last night when we were over there. So I'm going to send this child to school this week with some vocabulary.
I saw Chris. Oh man, I always pronounce his last name wrong. Chris D'Elia
Oh, Delia.
Dalia?
Yeah.
Yep.
D'Elia at the Vogue in Vancouver when he was taping it for a show, and about 30 minutes into the show, maybe it was like 20 minutes, they interrupt him and saying the recording equipment isn't working. So he had like a mini conniption on stage,
Ooh, I love it.
left, then came back on 5 minutes later and restarted the whole show and went through all of his jokes again because
Oh,
like
wow.
they weren't recording, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, it was
Oh,
funny the second time, but like,
brutal.
but how would you feel as a comedian that like
Yeah.
you guys are supposed to figure, the production is supposed to figure this out, right? Like, and they interrupt him like,
Ooh,
you know,
that's
20
rough.
minutes into his set. His set's like 60 minutes long, right?
Sure.
So, but man, was he annoyed.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not-
because
And it's hard to get the jokes to land the second time when you've just told them 10 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you have to, now it's in your head where, okay, I got to retell this joke. I got to tell it the same way, but what if they don't find it funny? Like that's got to kind of rattle your confidence a little bit, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah, for
um,
sure.
I will tell you though, like it was, the first half was funny, and then the last half he kind of almost attacked the audience.
Oh.
I didn't really understand where he was going, but he like kept saying,
Mhm.
I guess he was going on a tangent about how nobody is special in the world or something like that, and it just kind of like, it was really
Not cool.
aggressively,
Yeah.
whoa, like what are you trying to say?
Yeah, right?
So
Yeah.
it was really kind of off-putting the last last 15 20 minutes of the set. So I don't know where he was coming from. Maybe he was annoyed that he had to restart his show, I guess. I don't know.
Not like it's the audience's fault, so why go after?
Yeah,
he-
but he did this whole bit about like, you know, people thinking that they're special or that they're elevated, and then saying that nobody is, like we're just all the same person. But he like tried to turn it into he was doing a bit about trying to normalize everyone, I guess, but it just
Okay.
to me it just sounded really offensive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like you're basically telling everyone not to go after their dreams because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So to speak. So I was really kind of off put by it,
Right.
but you know, still enjoyed the first half of the show twice.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I mean, that kind of reminds me of that Metallica show I was at when they were recording for, I can't remember the name of the
Through the
Through the
never.
Never.
yes, that's right. Where they had to reset a couple of the big songs with big stage production. So we got to hear the same song 2 or 3 times with the whole stage production thing. It's like, yeah, we're not as excited for the third time now.
No, right?
We're gonna try to keep the energy up because James is asking for our help. We must help James, but at the same
Absolutely.
time, it's like you don't get that initial roar, right?
No.
Like when you hit, it happens in concerts. You hit that first chord of a classic, of a crowd pleaser, and the place blows up finally, right? Like we saw it at Maiden just recently when, you know, you guys didn't know what was coming. I knew what was coming. You guys didn't know what was coming, but you can see the audience was like, yeah, we're getting this one.
Yeah.
Right?
No, just kidding. We got Can I Play with Madness?
Yeah. That was, yeah. I mean, that didn't work real well for our row. I was
It worked
entertained by it.
just
You were
fine for me.
entertained.
It was worked
Absolutely.
just fine for me.
Absolutely.
But I mean, especially if they do like a deep cut, right? Like if, you know, a band pulls out something way deep in the catalog that's an old favorite that they've sort of dropped off the set list, right? And I imagine with comedy having to redo that is just a pain in the ass.
Mhm.
I mean, I've seen it once or twice with wrestling where it's like, you guys didn't get a goddamn thing right that entire match. That looked like shit. Go the fuck back out there and redo it.
Yeah.
So it's for a TV taping, but the guys, they do the whole thing where everybody's like really confused, like, okay, we're getting another, but no, these guys just wait, what's going on? And then the match is redone better, almost exactly move for move. You're like, oh, y'all fucked up and pissed off Vince.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And there's some pretty famous stories of guys walking back there. Like he did it to Randy Savage at one point in the early 90s, and Savage was pissed. So he went back out and did his thing properly. But yeah,
I miss Randy Savage.
we were talking about a film earlier that you guys
Yes,
had
Mike.
looked up. Mike, do
Yes,
you have
Michael.
a trailer for that?
Oh yeah, hang on.
queued up?
Yes, Michael.
I do not have it queued up. Hang on, I'm distracting
So-
myself.
I can.
Yeah,
cue it
and
if you
credit
want,
to Mike
please.
while we were
That-
talking. The Chris Hardwick show I was thinking of to compare to QI is At Midnight.
Yeah.
I saw a
That-
few
you
episodes
can do
of that.
it.
It was freaking hysterical. I don't know why it went away. Maybe it's just one of those things where not enough people were watching it. But I do remember listening to Chris's podcast back in the day because I was before Conrad really ramped up his shows. I was loyal to the Nerdist that became ID10T, and Chris was a really good interviewer. All right,
Yes.
Mike, I see you have that going.
So, yeah, Seb's got it, but that's okay.
So
Okay.
Mike and I found this Nicolas Cage movie, and we all know how much Matt loves Nicolas Cage, so we're gonna play
Oh,
this for
yeah.
him.
And me and Seb love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, it's got a 2.9 out of 10 score on IMDb, so take that as you will. And here we go.
Do it.
Best, clearly. It's going to
Jesus.
change my opinion of him. I can
You know
tell.
what I don't understand? How the hell are you still alive?
Must have made a pretty bad fall.
The comet you see in the sky right now passes over the Earth every 6 years and causes a portal. And when it's open, we get a visitor from a distant galaxy.
Literally the Predator.
What
You're
kind of
Literally.
low-rent predator
Oh,
ripoff
Oh,
is
look at
this?
that. Yeah, it's no Predator. It's
The
amazing.
spaceman. He comes here looking for a fight with you. The chosen jujitsu. If he doesn't get it, he stays and he kills everything. That is Alien Politics 5 through 15.
Oh my god. Yeah, I love it.
Now, you are all the chosen jujitsu fighters.
Oh, Frank Grillo.
You
All
don't
Yeah,
right.
man.
evil. No one else will have to.
Matt's in.
Yeah, Matt's gonna watch
Tony
it.
Jaa.
Tony Jaw.
He's crazy, like me.
It's so great.
I don't think he was acting there. I think he was just explaining
No, that's-
something to the cameraman.
Yeah, he's just saying the truth.
The director of Kickboxer Retaliation. Never heard of it.
There's no
I heard of
honor in
kickboxing,
killing
but not
crazy.
retaliation.
Yeah, it's like the third or fourth one, I think.
Oh my god. Okay,
I can fly too.
so why jujitsu? Isn't jujitsu like rolling on the ground trying
You
to
don't-
submit your
I was
opponent?
just gonna say that. The
right?
funniest thing is that you don't see a single jiu-jitsu move in that
No.
entire trailer.
What the
Because
hell,
the
man?
jitsu is like grappling on the ground and strangling each other. It's all kung fu ninja stuff.
That's
No.
amazing.
Where did you have either of you actually seen the film?
No.
I will
Okay.
this weekend. It's I'm watching it.
And did we figure out exactly where we can watch this? Was this one of the ones we
Tubi.
found on Tubi?
Tubi, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
I
Tubi
googled
special.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Tubi special. So yeah, absolutely. This will be watched.
I got a TV next to me, so I'm just gonna have to check this out.
I
make sure
literally
to-
just put in Nicolas Cage to IMDb and just started scrolling down to see what his like latest movies were, and then I saw a 2.91 in 2020. I'm like, what is this? So clicked on it. Yeah, and I was like, Mike, have you seen this?
yeah,
So I so can't. I love Nicolas Cage. I don't know why. It just amuses me to see him on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, it's called something. Oh, so I think in the Japanese cinema, it's called Earthfall,
Why don't
which
go with
makes
that? That's a better
which makes
title. man.
better sense than Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the spaceman's coming.
Oh no, Earthfall is a different movie. What?
Ooh.
From
Seb, but we stumbled on something really special here.
Earthfall Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know. There's a poster that says Earthfall Jiu-Jitsu, so maybe that's what it's called in the Asian market.
Maybe.
Predator
Wow.
meets Mortal Kombat. That's the.
Oh, that basically, absolutely. And I really hope someone says finish him somewhere in that movie.
Oh please.
Oh, right. They probably can't. But
Finish
it,
him.
Yeah, because right near the beginning of that, there's a dude and he's got one of them big hats. And I'm like, Liu Kang.
Or it reminded me a little bit of Big Trouble in Little China. That was my first thought, was the lightning guys from that movie. But
Hey, are they remaking that? I heard it's been on the rumor mill for so
I've
long.
heard rumblings for a long, long time. But Kurt Russell's the only one that can be in that movie. That's my opinion. I mean, he's getting a little long in the tooth.
Well, now hold on. They could definitely do something where the main character is somebody different. I mean, Wyatt Russell is a dead ringer for his dad, except he's got his mom's hair color.
That's okay.
So, I mean, they could definitely do something maybe with him because he's a proven decent actor.
Sure.
He was in Falcon and Winter Soldier as the U.S. agent, John Walker. So he's got some acting chops. He's got some action chops. I mean, you want to throw Kurt in there for that nostalgia vibe, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe
like have it as like Kurt is like, it's like Kurt's son or grandkid or some shit at this point, a descendant of the family, and old man Kurt still driving the Pork Chop Express.
So
right,
the last
it like crashes through a wall and saves everybody, like the Kool-Aid Man, right near the end.
Yep.
Right.
So the last update came in 2021 from the president of $7 Production, which I guess is the one that's in charge of the Big Trouble. And he says,
you know whose company that is, right?
No.
That's The Rock.
Oh, so he's
$7 Production is The Rock. So I'm guessing that's probably a Brian Gewirtz quote.
Hiram Garcia, president of production at Johnson's company.
Oh, okay. That's his ex-brother-in-law.
Yeah, it's still an ambition of ours, but unfortunately there are complications that come with a legacy property like that, which has so much attached to it from over the years. We have a really fun idea on what we'd like to do with it, especially since our goal was never to remake Big Trouble, but simply to continue it. Similar to what we did with Jumanji. So we could continue the story and make sure the original stands on its own, since it means so much to us and fans around the world. We're going to figure out a way to continue the story of Big Trouble in Little China. That was 2 years ago, so who knows?
It's probably on the shelf.
You have to get Carpenter direct it, though.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, ideally,
right?
I mean, he's not doing much lately, but ideally, you would like some of that.
Isn't he like 100 years old?
I think he's 164, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, he's 75.
Oh, okay, close. He looked like he was 164 back in the 80s.
Man.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, some people just look a certain age for their entire life, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
hey,
Gene Hackman is a good.
He was always old. He was old when we were kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, he looked 45 when he was in his 20s, and up until the last few years, he still looked 45.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, what's one of your give me a couple of really good John Carpenter movies that you guys like?
The Thing.
Ooh, yeah, it's a classic. Hey.
Well, obviously Halloween. You can't really. That's right. Halloween.
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York. LA, not so much, but New York was amazing. Big Trouble.
Yeah.
The Thing was the one Kurt Russell was in that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's the one with I think they're in Antarctica. I believe,
yeah, they're somewhere cold. Yeah, that's all I remember. Is they're somewhere
the
cold.
Thing, yeah, they're in Antarctica. Is in that one. That was a classic. I did enjoy. I haven't seen that in years. I think the last time I saw that, I watched it on Super Channel. So,
dude, I think
let's not do math there.
The Village of the Damned is a really good one too by him. That's often underlooked. And also he did Prince of Darkness, which was really spooky at the time.
Who is in Prince of Darkness? Can you pull that up real quick?
Yes.
Or when did it come out?
87.
Oh, okay.
It's a good movie though.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
It's
Bet you that's on TV.
I think it's about the Antichrist, if I'm not mistaken.
Love it.
Donald Pleasant, isn't it?
Classic horror, man. He was in Halloween. He was in the early Halloweens.
Victor Wong, isn't it? You know him from
Victor Wong. He was in Big Trouble, wasn't he?
He was in Big Trouble. He plays Egg Shen, the Kurt
old
Russell's
guy.
like the old guy that's with
The
Kurt
old
Russell
guy,
the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah.
He's also in Tremors as well.
Tremors.
He's in 7 Years in Tibet.
So I'm looking at Carpenter's list here. Now he was credited with the original version, but Assault on Precinct 13 was solid. I mean, they did a really good job in the remake of that in 2005. But I'm looking at some of this stuff, and there's some short films out there I didn't know existed. Michael versus Jason, Jason versus Leatherface. I mean, it makes sense. But I mean, if you look at this, there's some interesting stuff in there from there it is. There's the one. They Live. That's
They Live
gotta
was
be
good.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, I remember seeing that long ago.
Yeah. Solid Roddy Piper vehicle right there. Roddy
Is that
Piper
the
and Keith-
bubblegum quote?
Yeah.
I'm all out of bubblegum.
Yeah, I came here to do two things: kick ass and chew bubblegum. And I'm all out of bubblegum. And just the fight sequence with him and Keith David in the alley when he's trying to get Keith David to put on the sunglasses and see everything, all the subliminal stuff.
Yeah,
that is one of the best fight sequences in movie history. Like, it is fantastic, and it all is just put the fucking sunglasses on, and it just snowballs into this brutal fight. Yeah, that was fantastic. But I'm just scrolling through the Carpenter stuff, and there's a few things in here that I'd forgotten he'd done or I didn't know. I mean, obviously he's all over the Halloween. He's got one in production now, just a Halloween. It looks like a reboot. Credited with lots of characters. Like, when you're looking at his character credits, like some of these are just short films, like, characters, because it's a Michael versus Jason thing like that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't
like
understand that he does most of the music for his movies as
Yeah,
well. He's
absolutely.
a very accomplished composer,
Mhm.
very good at what he does, honestly.
Yeah, well, he's a pretty all-round sort of cat,
Yeah.
right? Like, the only thing he doesn't really do is act, but he writes, he directs, he produces, he does the music. I mean,
Yeah, he's one of those all-in movie persons, right? Like, when
Mhm.
he decides to do a movie, he writes, directs it, and does the music for it. He
Yeah.
just goes, "This is my vision."
Yeah, I was just gonna
Well,
say.
not all the time, but a lot of the time.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, he's got his 42 composer credits,
Wow.
right? And then
yeah, it's
it just for in the
probably most of his
25
movies
in
too, right?
in music. So I mean, that's Carpenter. This guy's worth doing a deep dive on at some
Sure.
point. Obviously, we got to get through the Fincher thing first,
Yes.
which I really enjoyed rewatching Seven.
Yeah.
I got to sit and watch it with one of the kids. That was great. Like, we were talking about it last night over at our friend's place, and there's I haven't seen it for years. And I'm like, have you guys seen The Game?
That's so
And
good.
only Sarah had.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Yeah, my wife hadn't seen it. I asked her, "Have you seen the game?" She's like, "I don't
The
think so."
Game
I'm like,
is
"It's so good." Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
rewatch it. Might even bring the kid in to watch it too, because it's not. There's nothing.
yeah,
He might get bored by it, but there's nothing visually that will either spook him or make him not be interested. So
yeah. There's no real like graphic violence, or like there's nothing like Seven where it's decomposing.
it's all up
bodies
here.
and
It's all up here
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the hell's going on, right?
Well, because when you watch it, and I know we're gonna probably deep dive this, but like when you watch it, you're just going back and forth whether you think it's a game or not. Like, you
Yeah.
don't even know the whole time.
Yeah,
You're like,
and
"It is, no, it's
honestly,
not.
I
It
don't
is,
even
no, it's
really
not."
like talking about the movie.
Yeah.
When you talk about Fincher, a lot of times The Game, nobody has seen it because you couldn't promote it. You couldn't promote it.
No,
Yeah, you can't exactly.
Can't
Yeah,
say
what's it
anything
about?
about
You
it.
can't.
Yeah,
If you cut, and I have to go back and find the trailer, but if you cut that trailer wrong, you screw up the whole movie for everybody. So
Mhm.
they did the smart thing, I think, is they just like, it's Michael Douglas, it's David Fincher, it's The Game. That's it. Now, it
It's
probably
definitely
hurt,
less is more.
yeah, it
Like,
probably hurt their box office, but it is a classic. It's under the radar. When you show it to people,
Yep.
it's like, what is this that is going on? And you don't, I mean, we're not supposed to talk about Fight Club, but everybody talks about Fight Club,
Sure.
right?
It almost
But-
turns into like to a
That's
meme.
gonna
of,
be
you're not
our
supposed to talk
shortest
about it, so
episode ever.
We're gonna talk about it anyway.
Yeah. The Game, if you've seen it, you don't talk about it.
Yep.
It's like, nope, we're just gonna watch it. What's it about? A game.
that
Right?
will be a
That's all I
podcast.
told him
Okay,
last
welcome
night.
to At the End, where we talk about the Fight Club.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks for
exactly.
coming.
I can't
Have a
wait.
nice day.
I can't wait to do that. And Fight Club is also one of those ones that my wife hasn't seen,
So good.
and with The
And he
Game and
knows
with
how to
Fight
end a
Club,
movie.
you don't. I'm almost hesitant to do a deep dive on that one because we're gonna wreck it for somebody,
We are.
right?
But again,
Well, we can talk about it without talking about the ending.
there's a statute of limitations. I think this movie came out 20 years ago.
There definitely is, and I think when we get around to both those, I'm just gonna, as we put everything up in the graphics and and the show descriptions and be like, if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it before you listen to this because we're gonna ruin your time.
Yeah.
We're gonna ruin it.
So
And
are we doing Fight Club next then?
Well, Mike just watched it, did you not?
No, I didn't.
I just watched it.
Oh, you just watched it.
I watched
Wait,
it like 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Let's save that for
Yeah.
after Halloween. Maybe we'll do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, our Halloween episode's coming next week.
Is that next
Oh
week?
yeah, I guess we gotta do a Halloween episode.
We'll do something
Well,
spooky.
Spooky. Hey, so so since Junior, he's 14, so I've been trying to get him to watch some movies of my youth that I loved when I was his age. And I've been trying
Yeah.
to get him to watch this. It's a sequel, but I've been trying to get him. He's not old enough for the first one. I don't think it's too violent. It's too much. But
I
the
think I know what it
sequel-
is.
I think you do too. And the sequel is kind of like a soft reboot of the first one. Just they sort of they commercialized it and made it a little easier to watch and not as violent.
And if it's the one I'm thinking of, they kind of lean more into the comedy side of it.
Yes, and the main character has a lot more lines in the first one, and he's trying to be funny. And some of it is like
Evil Dead?
No, not Evil Dead. No. So we watched Terminator 2.
Nice.
Yep.
He finally I wore him down. He's like, fine, let's watch it. So
he
we
hasn't
watched
seen the
it.
first one though.
No. So I explained
Okay.
the first one. I said, hey, look, he came for the first one to kill Sarah. This one, he's going after the kid. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're watching it, and it's long. Like I forgot how long that movie
Yeah,
was.
it's like
Yes,
two,
it is.
2.5, isn't it?
And
Or more.
there's a lot of exposition in this movie, like talking about the future, Sarah going on her tangents and Miles Dyson and all that stuff. And he's like, this is boring. And like all of a sudden I had felt this like stab in my heart. I'm like, this is not boring. I'm like, come on. I'm like,
You
okay,
son
that's-
of a bitch.
yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, there's
that's
some. There's stretches in between the action that I can understand what he's talking about. Like when you first see Sarah in the hospital, it's fairly slow, but they're all setting up stuff.
absolutely.
like,
And I
this
told him, I
guard
said,
is-
trust me, the payoff is there. It's
Yeah.
gonna land. The plane is gonna land. So he's
Mhm.
like, okay. So we watched like the first hour and a bit, whatever, one night, and the next night he's like, can we finish it? I'm like, let's do it. Let's finish it. And then we're watching it, and he knew the ending a long time ago because he knew like the thumbs up thing, like that was like a whatever meme between all his little friends or whatever. And but he's like, okay, that got really good. I'm like, I told you. I'm like, it's awesome. And then he's like, the one part after the T-1000 go, spoiler alert, 30 years later, 32 years.
Yeah.
When the T-1000 goes in the lava and Arnie's got like the one arm, he's all messed up. He's like, I need a vacation. It's like, oh my God. It's like, seriously, dude. And then he was just pissing his pants laughing at that. And but he ended up liking it. I don't know if we're ever going to watch it again, but maybe I'll watch it with Jolene when she gets a little bit older. But and then we watched the second movie. We finished it last night because he really enjoyed the Batman, and I've been trying to get him to watch the Nolan ones for a little while now, and he's like, no, I don't want to watch the Nolan ones. Scary, blah 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 blah.
God. It's
So
the best one.
we watched Batman Begins,
Mhm.
and I will
That's
preface
my favorite of the three.
I didn't like it when it came out originally. It wasn't, I don't know what my problem was. I'm fully admitting I'm a moron because holy shit, was it good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because I had a thing with, I didn't like Bale's Batman voice, but I'm like, nope, I'm buying in. This time I'm like, I'm just going to go with it. And I'm going to love the voice. I'm going to love everything about this movie. And I did. And even the stuff like when the Scarecrow, because I thought that was going to get him when Bruce got sprayed by the Scarecrow stuff and everything went all distorted. I'm like, okay, maybe this could be over. Like we might not finish this movie.
Might
but
be
he
it.
didn't-
Yeah.
Yeah,
I liked it when oh God, I'm blanking on her name, but when Katie Holmes' character got sprayed with
Rachel.
it, and
Yep.
or was it
Rachel.
Rachel?
Rachel Wood.
Was it her or was it Jonathan Crane? And they're looking at Batman, and he's just
that
this
was when he
demonic-
sprayed Scarecrow. When Scarecrow
That's
got a taste
right.
of his own
Yeah, yeah.
medicine,
And
and then
that
that
was
scary Batman.
rad.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah, I love that one. I was one of those ones. I was working at the theater, and I would sit in the IMAX window, and I would watch that every freaking time.
Yeah.
I just sat. I loved it. It is consistently, like, if somebody asks me my top 5 favorite films, the 5th one rotates. Batman Begin has been in there since it came out.
Yeah.
Like, nope, that's
it
the
was
one.
obviously Christopher Nolan. We all know he makes
Mhm.
he doesn't make bad movies, and sure there were some Batman-y tropes that he threw in just to appease the
You have to.
you have to, right? And trivia, the little boy Katie Holmes is saving when when the city gets sprayed. You know who that is?
Yeah, it's one of the Harry Potter kids.
No.
Hmm?
It's Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Jack
That's
Gleason.
right.
I'm like, I know
Yeah.
that kid. He looks so
Yeah.
familiar.
It's like the only other
Yeah.
thing he's ever done, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, Game of
Yeah.
Thrones, it ruined acting for him. Anyway, that's a whole thing. He
Yeah,
doesn't-
that yeah,
character
well, I mean,
ruined acting. Kind of like Jake
yeah,
Lloyd.
he played
Anakin, right?
he played a really good version of Joffrey, and that's
Joff,
just
yeah.
hateable. And it's the
Right.
same thing with Cersei as well. I mean, they played those so good that like fans fucking hated them in real life.
Yeah.
It's like, this is
It's not real, right?
this is not real. Like you see it a lot in wrestling because the lines are blurred, but with acting, this is a fucking character. Like people complain about the Batman voice on Christian Bale, and it's like this is a Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah.
If Christopher Nolan decided that's the one, that's the one. That's
the
not
voice.
on Bale. Bale's probably like, really, this hurts my throat. This is gonna suck. I don't
Yeah.
want to do this. This
How many
sounds like
takes do I gotta
garbage.
do
But
this?
Christopher
God damn it.
Nolan, and there's a lot of zeros at the end of his paycheck. So you do it, and that's what Nolan decided on. It's like this is what it's going to be like. Because if Nolan didn't like it, it ain't happening.
Yep.
Yeah, he
I want
has
to go
the
back
clout.
to.
He has
Yeah,
the
I want to
clout.
go. Yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
exactly. I want to go back to Terminator 2 because I have a bit of trivia from there. So the big thing with Terminator 2 was Guns N' Roses was on the soundtrack.
Yes.
Huge song,
Yes.
right? It's one of their bigger hits that wasn't on Appetite from Destruction. And
It was supposed to be. It was
So-
written. It was written during the time they left it off.
there you go. Yeah, 91. That's about right. Robert Patrick, that played the T-1000,
Yes, sir.
his brother was in at the time a relatively unknown band.
Hey, man, nice shot.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
no, he went on after.
Oh, he was in
he,
Nine Inch
he,
Nails.
he
as
went
well.
on to do Filter after he left this other band.
Yeah.
But the band he was in was just on the cusp of getting big, and they would get huge after he left.
Yep.
9 Inch Nails.
Yes, sir.
Robert Patrick had
Richie.
James Cameron convinced to put 9 Inch Nails on that soundtrack, and Arnie went, "I want the Guns N' Roses." That was
Yeah.
the worst Arnie accent of all time.
That was pretty
And
bad.
And that was
Get out
that
the
was it.
year.
Like Arnie said, no, we're going Guns N' Roses, not 9 Inch Nails. Nobody's heard of 9 Inch Nails, and arguably 9 Inch Nails got bigger than Guns N' Roses in their time, right?
Sure,
Like,
but not in '91. No way. Like there was
no, not in 91. They were
The
still
Illusions.
just
It was
starting
that.
off.
It was the magic time. It was the
Yep.
Illusions had just come out, and that song was it was huge.
Absolutely.
There's a documentary out there about Richard Patrick's time in Nine Inch Nails,
Mhm.
and I can see like it was not cool. Like it was not. I'm not going to quote anything, but from what I remember, he was not treated very fairly at all.
And that's the way he went on to do Filter. I mean, Hey Man, Nice Shot is my all-time favorite song. Love it.
Okay.
Absolutely love it. Love singing it. And it didn't work out for him. It wasn't a good fit. We've talked about this with bands before. It's like, the chemistry ain't there.
Yeah.
It's an
Whether it
unorthodox
was
song too, like
whether he
because
was-
it's very progressive in how it starts and how it like opens up. It's
the bass line. Yeah.
yeah, for lack of better words, and it's the only word I can come up with. It's borderline haunting almost on how
Oh,
it
yeah.
starts.
Absolutely.
It's really good.
They use it in an early episode of Supernatural. It's like season 1. I think it's like episode 5 or 6. And that's exactly what it is. The show, it's like a POV shot going through this dark house to like a murder scene. And it's just the bass line. And it starts and then the drums kick in with that footsteps sort of deal, and that's exactly it. It just carries on. Like,
It's a really
Having
good
sung it a
lesson
lot.
in less is more sometimes.
Mhm.
yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's nothing to it, right?
having sung it a lot, I'm standing up there doing karaoke for it. I'm like, okay, I got time to drink half a beer before I have to do anything.
Yeah.
And then it just, I wish I would have met you. And it just starts so slow.
Yeah.
And then right when you hit the chorus and the bridge, you got to get down.
You got to get down dirty. The
There's,
one thing,
I got photos
one
on
thing
my
the kid,
Facebook of me doing it, and it looks like I'm about to put the microphone in the back of my throat. Right?
Skin
Like,
Food Fridays.
exactly.
boy.
Oh, let me tell you,
Oh,
that
boy.
thing would have
Oh, boy.
disappeared. I'm open wide, baby. The jaw was unhinged.
All right.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm sure there's footage.
it was funny 'cause when we were watching it, the kids like, because all the scenes of John and I don't remember his buddy's name on the
The
motorbike,
redhead kid.
the
Yeah.
redhead kid.
Yeah.
So they're on their bike. They
Two
leave the
different
house.
strokes.
He's like, you're not my dad, Todd. And then they take off and and
You're not
the
my
song
dad,
"You Could Be Mine's" playing, and then they go to the
Mhm.
arcade, and then they go to the bank machine. The song's still playing. And
Yep.
they go to the arcade, and then they go somewhere else. The song's playing again. Cooper's like, "Did they just listen to that one song all day?" I'm like, "Well, dude, it's a tape deck.
It's a
You
good
probably-
song.
You only
You
you only got so many, man. It's
You
you
just
probably just
zip
had to
it back
look.
to the start.
Yeah.
I mean, if it
'Cause
was a
it's just-
CD player, which was we were right on the cusp of those being
On the
super
cusp.
common,
Not
but
port-
you
not-
couldn't.
we had them, but they weren't
Oh, no.
portable yet, right?
There is
I
that
mean, the
one.
CDs never became portable. Anti-skip my ass.
Right,
Oh,
it,
no.
it never worked.
Never
Um,
ever.
There's that one scene in Terminator 2 that has been memed so much. It's when he calls home and asks, "What is your dog's name?"
Mhm.
Oh,
And he
Wolfie.
says, "It is Wolfie." All right, yeah, Wolfie's just fine. Your parents are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they interject whatever line they want, and like that meme has gone around so many times. I don't even have an example, but they do
that-
like a Star Trek meme
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Remember the one where they're like, "If the walls fall, Shaka," or whatever.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Star Trek: The Next Generation, but the race of people that talk in metaphors. So they do that Star Trek meme where it's like, "Shaka, if the walls fell." Excuse me.
Yeah, I remember
Your
that
parents
one.
are dead.
Yeah. I got to see T2. My dad took me to see this in the theater. It was one of the rare times.
Same. My dad took me to see it.
Yeah, me too.
and
I'm pretty sure
I
it
had
was
the
just
same
me and
experience.
him, and it was like the way they panned out from that arc. So you see it, and it's, for those watching, it looks just like what I'm doing right now. The arm goes out of the screen, and when they pull back afterwards, it's the blade, and
Right
the
through
dude's got the
Todd's
milk
head.
carton jammed. The blade's going through the milk
Yeah.
carton and through his mouth.
At the
whole
time-
chase scene through the LA River
Yeah.
was fantastic. It's just like, okay, it's gone. Truck comes smashing through the barricade and drops, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah. At the time, it was cutting edge special effects.
for sure. But it
Mhm.
reminded me, like, remember The Abyss?
Oh yes.
'Cause
Yes,
that came out. That was
absolutely.
Cameron's movie before, and then when the T1000 was morphing from metal into a person, that was like the Abyss technology.
Yeah.
I think he probably
Yeah.
just made the Abyss so he could get the technology to make Terminator.
I think that's the best movie he's ever
Yeah,
done.
but I mean, that was all ILM too, right? Like, oh,
The director's version,
yeah.
which is like an extra 40 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
I
yeah,
gotta
it's like
watch
3
that
hours
again.
long, and
Yeah.
it is one of my favorite movies. I mean, it doesn't make the top 5 just because it is 3 hours long and it does get really slow. But what they cut out of the theatrical version, when you drop it back in, the movie makes a million times more sense.
Yeah, it,
Like the motivation
there's-
of the aliens
yeah.
becomes so much more clear. The motivation and the relationship between Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio becomes so much more clear. It is a much brighter, bigger, makes more sense picture when you watch the 3-hour version.
Yeah,
Right.
it's incredible. It's,
And that's and I think we discussed this in one of our other episodes talking about why movies are so much longer. I think it was just a victim of the fact that they didn't have the technology to do it. You didn't have the videotape that would go 3 hours, because this didn't come out until it was on DVD.
Yeah, I got the
and-
DVD somewhere.
yeah, because you would have
and-
needed 2 cassettes.
And the film technology of getting the one thing onto a big platter just didn't exist. You couldn't do that. You didn't have room for anything more than about 2:15 or 2.5 hours long, right? But the one thing about the character Tim in Terminator 2 is his natural disdain for authority saved John Connor's life. Just flat out lied to the cop on instinct and told
Yeah, that
John
was
to
cool.
run. And that's the only reason John wasn't splattered against an arcade machine, right? Like, oh, there he is, knifes him, and he's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, I ain't seen him. He just drove in on the motorcycle with him. He's like, John, you better go. There's a cop looking for you. And that's narrow escape that leads to the chase. It's just like, yeah, fuck you and fuck your badge.
That's so in tune with the characters that they are, right? Because they are rebellious. They don't listen to authority, you know, F the system type of teenagers, right? So a cop comes up to you, you're just gonna be like, I'm not gonna cooperate at all with this cop. So
yeah.
But no, because didn't they stole money from the ATM, right? Before that scene? Yeah, so that's they thought they were in trouble for that.
Bike, and then the song was still
I
playing.
remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie's great. Like I loved it. It was just, you know, and even because if you flick onto it on Netflix, they always shows trailers of stuff, and it's always same one for T2 was when he's leaving the bar at the beginning, and the old man comes out with the shotgun. Can't let you take the man's wheels, son. And then he turns around and takes the sunglasses, and now it's just it's a quote that we do in the house all the time. Me and Cooper now. It's just our new thing. It's like, Dad, what was that quote? Can't let you take the man's wheels, son. Yeah,
I feel like
I need your clothes and motorcycle and boots.
What is it? I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Yeah.
That's Bill Paxton too, in that scene.
Yeah, in the first one.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one where he does the
punk. And that's
like,
something I saw yesterday. Is the only guy to fight the big three. Bill Paxton was in the first Terminator, the second Alien, and the second Predator.
Oh my God, he's
oh, that's right. He was in Predator too. That movie. Oh,
yeah,
that movie was so bad.
Oh, it was awful. I watched that just
Danny
on
Glover.
Wasn't Gary Busey in that one too?
What's that?
Wasn't Gary Busey in Predator?
Yeah,
he's the one who got chopped in half in the meat.
Hey, let's talk about buttered sausage.
What?
Let's talk about buttered sausage.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Oh my God, have you not seen the Gary Busey meme about butter sausage? What?
No.
He's in a TikTok. He's in. Oh my God! I'm gonna send it to you. He's in an interview with some guy, and he's asking him about like these questions. Like, I can't even remember what the questions are, but like the state of like crypto or something like that. And he's like, "How about we talk about butter sausage? Let's talk about butter sausage."
I love Gary Busey.
Oh man! And you're like, what?
Yeah.
I'll send it to you later, Mike. It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Did you see the reality show he did? Like it was on like Becoming Gary Busey or being something like that. They followed him around. Wow.
Yeah, he's something else.
I don't know if it was the drugs or the motorcycle accident or just natural brain chemistry that he's working with, but this dude is off the rails.
He's he's out there. Yeah. He's like Nicolas Cage times 100.
Oh God, yeah. But he's a far better actor. Like Gary Busey had some chops.
Okay, let's just
cool your jets there, Matthew.
Whoa, we don't do that,
Maddie.
We don't do that. But no, and the Gary Busey was super menacing in Lethal Weapon 2, right? Like, was it 2?
Yeah, there was a time like
Weapon.
in the late 80s, early 90s where he was a good actor, and he was, what was he in, Point Blank or Point Break?
Point Break.
Yeah, he's great in a lot of movies. And then
he was in Lethal Weapon 1. He's the Mr. Joshua in Lethal Weapon 1, and he's just a badass.
Lethal Weapon's a good series.
Oh man, so good.
So is Terminator 2 the last movie you watched?
Batman Begins was.
Batman Begins.
We finished it. I think we might start Dark Knight either tonight or tomorrow.
I watched on Wednesday a Brad Pitt movie, which was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Bullet Train.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's so good.
I want to see that.
It's really good, and it's not what I thought it was going to be.
No.
Yeah, it's like for lack of better words, it's kind of like a whodunit kind of, and you're trying to piece everything together on how everything's connected, and as you go on, there's another layer that keeps coming on. It's good. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
I really enjoyed Bullet Train when we saw it. Like Brad, the way he approached the whole character.
Yeah.
was absolutely fantastic. And
Yeah, the comedy
Yeah,
level
I
of
thought it
his
was-
choices are so good. Yeah,
it's
'cause he's
almost
funny.
like a
He's
snack,
yeah,
right? Like it's sort of like a heist thing, and there's multiple perspectives, and there's a great cast. I mean, Bad Bunny's in it, Brad Pitt. Yeah, where'd the rest of the cast go? I just had it here.
the
Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is just out there killing it lately.
Lemon and
Michael Shannon.
whatever his other name is, the two characters, the two hitmen, they're great
Tangerine.
together. Yeah, Lemon and Tangerine,
Yeah.
they're so good together. And then that Asian guy, that like the father, who's in so many movies.
Masaoka?
Is that him?
Or no, you're thinking the older one. Anyway, keep going.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
in like a ton of movies. Yeah, he's good. He's so good. Highly recommend, Mike, if you haven't seen it. It's a good time.
I had
It's-
not. I forgot. I remember seeing trailers. I'm like, ooh, Brad Pitt beating people up, and so I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, and it never really like no one really talked about it when it came out
It just
for
kind of
whatever
went, right?
reason. Yeah,
I think
but
it was a pandemic thing,
I
right?
was gonna
Like
say,
I
I'm
think
pretty
it,
sure
it
was
might have
probably
been,
that.
yeah.
when before we were allowed to go back to the theaters. Oh yeah, Sonata. He's a favorite of mine. I love his work. He's
He's
Last
so
Samurai,
good.
I think he was one of the better characters. He is one of the only reasons to watch the Wolverine.
So
I
he's
love his work.
he's in John Wick Chapter 4, which I don't think is out yet. Or no, that just came out.
Yeah,
He's
it's out.
in,
I've seen it.
he's in Bullet Train. He's in Mortal Kombat, like the reboot. He plays Scorpion in the new one. He's in the West.
Mhm.
He's in all 4 seasons of Westworld.
Yep.
What else does he do? He's in Ronin, 47 Ronin. That was with Keanu Reeves, right?
Yeah,
believe.
that was okay.
Yeah, he's in the Wolverine. He's in,
Mike's had enough of our shit.
okay. He's in Rush Hour 3.
Mike's just it's honestly one of those things where
Yes,
I kind of wish we had like lapel mics. So I was like, we're just listening to Mike P now. But no, it was, and then Michael Shannon as well is in Bullet Train, and he's just come on strong in the last few years.
Yeah, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, I really did. Same. Can't say enough. If it's worth your time, if you're looking for something to watch this week, just go and check that out, people. It's definitely worth it. It's not exactly as advertised, and that's okay.
So he's 49, but in the
Mhm.
movie, he seems like he's way older than that.
Yeah, and I think that's
Right? Like,
that's the way and I don't want to give anything away, but
yeah,
with what that character has going on plot wise, that was perfect. Like it does. If you were going through that, you would definitely, it would age you, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Brad
Highly
Pitt
recommend,
is-
Mike, if you ever have a chance and you're bored and you're looking for a movie, Bullet Train, highly recommend it. It's so
I'm
good.
in. Yeah, I'm gonna watch
Yeah.
it.
I think it's on Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken. If you have that,
I believe so.
yeah, good movie, real good movie.
I don't have my Prime set up on this TV, or I'd look it up. But yeah, I think it's on Prime. I'm pretty sure. It was. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're fairly big Brad Pitt fans. We don't often shit on
I
his
love
work around
Brad
here.
Pitt.
No,
I love him.
me too.
Yeah.
Why don't you
Oh,
marry him? Oh boy. Oh, boy.
Fantastic. All right, boys. Anything else you want to bring up? Like we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of random stuff today.
Well, the NHL season started, and the Canucks started the season with an 8-1 victory, and people were planning the parade.
Absolutely.
And they are
We
now
want the cup.
2-2.
And they're not that good.
Normalized
I
their
think
trajectory,
my
and we're back to
favorite-
like,
I think my favorite post attributed to a guy I used to work with, an old boss of mine actually, was, well, anybody else feel that the Canucks used up all their goal allotment for the year tonight?
pretty much.
It's over.
But really interesting for the NHL, real quick. Austin Matthews started his season,
hat-tricks.
season with 2 hat tricks.
Ah, yeah,
He got
man.
back-to-back hat tricks, which
That's crazy.
that cannot have. I can't even tell you who's done that to open up a season. I don't think that's ever been done.
I think he might be. I think there was one other. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you would probably be looking at, you know, the list of the
I
greats.
think it might have a Wayne Gretzky on that list. Maybe.
Like a Gretzky, a Lemieux, a Yager, maybe an Yzerman or a Fedorov or an Ovi. Like
Ovi
you'd be
has-
looking at top
Ovi
names
has
for that.
done it.
It's
there you
Matthews
Or-
is the
and
fifth
then
player
there's
to
the
open a
case I
season
made
with
for that's
back-to-back
the-
hat tricks.
Who are the other three?
Alex
Besides Ovi.
Ovechkin.
Yep.
And then it goes back to three
Uh-oh.
players did it in 1917.
Oh, perfect. That was a good year. I remember that.
So it
Yeah.
has taken 100 years for another player because Ovechkin did it in
That's
2017.
crazy.
So let's be real. Alex Ovechkin and Austin Matthews are the only two players to actually open a season with back-to-back hat
Yeah.
tricks.
Those old people don't count.
Yeah. Well, Cy Denenim, Joe Malone, and Reg Noble.
Well,
No
there's,
idea who any
You
of
know,
those
it's different. There were 6 teams. You know, goalies were
Yeah.
probably 10-year-old
are.
children.
Not wearing
Yeah.
pads.
Not wearing any pads, right? Just stand there going, "Oh shit!" Here comes
Definitely,
that.
we're not
Well,
wearing helmets. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's
Oh, no.
it's real easy to get back-to-back hat tricks if you rattle one off the goalie's dome and there's no replacement, and he's trying to catch 4 pucks coming at him.
That's right.
Yeah, you hit him in the head first, then he's on the ground unconscious, and you shoot it over him.
Absolutely.
in.
Oh,
They just left him there. It's all good. He's still in the game. It's fine.
Yeah.
He just got his bell rung. He's fine.
Yeah.
It's like he's got a crease.
Yeah.
He's got
Why
a
is there a
coin
big-
slot in the middle of his forehead. He ain't fine.
What's that leaking on the ice? Oh, that's just his brains. No big deal.
Don't worry about it.
He'll put that back in. He'll be fine. Yeah, there we go.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know what? It takes a it doesn't matter what net sport you're dealing with. Anybody that goes, I want to play goal, you are off fucking kilter, son.
Yeah.
You are not walking the same line as the rest of us, and that's fine because they can be super fun people, super nice people. Yeah, I don't know if I told you guys this story. On the last episode of Enforcing the Fundamentals, we were getting into a story that was brought up by my mom that I was told that I need to bring up and discuss. And what had happened was my dad had set up a late August training camp for a bunch of guys in Victoria in about 80, 81-ish. And all of the billets for this training camp crapped out.
Oh,
So
geez.
my dad, being my dad, brought a few of them home to crash at our place in Victoria. I was about 3, getting pretty close to 4, and my brother was about 5 or 6 months old. When I say a few, would you guys care to guess at the number of players my dad brought home?
20.
Very
Well,
close.
the way
Really?
you said it makes
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
think it's high.
Yeah, the few is
20.
not a few. Yeah.
22 players.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
In 19, like all my mom did was run back and forth to the grocery store.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, so one kid decided that during the street hockey game that these guys decided they were going to start playing. So I think 22, major junior players were going to go outside and play street hockey, and they got a couple of neighborhood kids. So it was a big ass game. And my dad, if you listen to the episode, he talks like, yeah, it was a really good opportunity, 1 for team building, but 2 for me to get a handle on who does what. My baby brother at the time, about 5, 6 months old, was somehow left in the care of Dean Evison.
Oh, nice. I've heard that
Dean,
name in a long
being the goalie that he is, was playing goal with my brother strapped in one of those snuggies around.
time. That's amazing.
And
What
I'm like,
better kind
wow.
of chest protection
this-
do you need than a baby? Come on.
Yeah,
Ding,
this
ding.
definitely explains a couple of things about my brother.
There you go.
Yeah, he's speaking of rattling one off the dome. I
That's
can say that because
nuts.
he's probably not going to listen to this or the other show. But
There you go.
yeah, it was solid time. It's like my mom didn't tell me the number, so when my dad recounted the story, you can see it if you watch the video. I'm just like, what? And I vaguely recall this. Like we had players billeted with us a lot. 1 or 2. So, I think there was 3 or 4 one year in that house that were there for the whole season. I vaguely recall just a ton of people around. And it's right on the edge of where your memory is kind of forming, your long-term memory is forming. Because I remember just a hair before my brother was born, and just little bits and pieces throughout that. But 22.
That's nuts.
What
Where
kind
did you
of
fit them all?
Right.
well, you know what? Go back and check out the last episode of Enforcing the
Okay.
Fundamentals for the full story. And honestly, it's one of those ones that I kind of want to make a TikTok out of, but it gets to be a long story, especially
Yeah.
since I start drilling down on some of these things. And Dad, he doesn't like to name drop, but once in a while it comes out, and it's like, wait, hold on. You said Dean had him strapped to your chest. Was that Dean Evison? He's like, oh yeah. Like, okay, cool.
No big
Just
deal.
no NBD,
Right.
Brad. NBD. So yeah, he's got some interesting stories. So if you like hockey stories, or you have a kid in a sport, his coaching style is universal because it really focuses more on the individual and not the needs of the specific sport.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously there is that in there, but it's really coaching up the individual to their best. And so it is hockey because that was his life. It applies to football. It applies to baseball. It can apply to any athletic endeavor and just life in general. I have friends of mine that played for him, and they're like, your dad taught me so much. I'm like, well, you want to come and talk about? Well, I never really did anything. I just sort of got to this level, and then that was sort of where I got out of it. And I'm like, do you use anything in real life that you learned there? Oh God, yeah. I use all sorts of stuff that he taught me in my actual life as a teacher, as a tattoo artist, as a cop, as a whatever. And I was like, well, isn't that really what coaching's about? Right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I mean, you can teach them how to run a 440, and that's fine. You can teach them how to throw a body check, but if you've taught them and coached them correctly, they're going to take something you learned into the other
Yeah.
realms.
Right.
And I think that's really one of the things that's been super fucking cool, is just hearing his old stories about this and just some of the absolute freaking nonsense that went on. Mike, I
Yes.
want you to go to a swim meet, and I want you to just randomly bring home 22 kids and see how your wife reacts to that.
Oh no, thank you. It would not be a very good reception.
Right?
Right.
I think it's different with that culture though, with hockey culture, because like I know in soccer at early age, billeting people was
Mhm.
pretty common, and
Yes.
it's even
Yes.
more so common in hockey. It's probably the most common in hockey, in youth
Yeah.
hockey, just because I don't know the reason, but it just
Well, it's
you know.
because you get the top players sort of get recruited from smaller communities into bigger ones. Again, if you
So
go
they
back
need a
to
place to stay when they go play
Yeah.
in a
That's right.
different city. Yeah.
There is, I believe it's episode 5 episode 5 with Danny Hodgson. Danny came out of Fort Mac, Alberta, to Cowichan Valley, Duncan, on Vancouver Island at 15 years old. So he's got some really cool stories about the homesickness, and when you're doing that at 15, like you're not living on your own until you're 18. That's just the way it is. So if you're in juniors and you're looking to go up, you need a billet. You need somebody to stay with. I mean, even if you're in your 20s and you're at a new town, it's like, well, where the fuck am I supposed to stay? So, you get helped out. But when you're young, there's one thing that a lot of people don't realize when they're playing hockey. He's 15 years old. Oh, okay. So he came he's in fucking school too.
Yep.
Danny had to go to junior high school, a brand new junior high school. And when he got there, he found out that because of his age, nobody else on the team was in school. So he didn't know shit.
Oh,
He didn't
God.
know anybody.
Oof.
He's like, okay, well, there's this guy and this guy. They're 16, but because of the way the school system was set up and where the family was located, he was at a completely different school than the rest of the 16, 17-year-olds. So he's just walking like, cool. Cool. I got
Right.
fucking nobody in a strange town. And Danny's episode is also really good. And then, of course, just hearing Jeff Courtnall talk about the same time, because Jeff and Danny were on the same team. So there's some pretty cool stories over there, if I do say so myself. Especially if you want to look at my face, as a lot of these memories from, when I was in single digits, right?
Mhm.
Like, wait, I vaguely recall this. What the fuck was going on there? And then I get the real story because I'm an adult now.
Yep.
Right?
You don't
Like,
get the
much like-
sugar-coated kid story.
exactly. It's like, oh, well, we blew through thousands of dollars in groceries for a week because all mom did was run back and forth to the
Yep.
grocery store.
Feeding a bunch of hungry hockey players.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hungry,
absolutely.
hungry hippos.
Yep. And while I remember certain things, it's like you have no idea why we had hot dogs so often, do you? It's like, no, because we were fucking broke. We're
Right.
not making
Hot dogs,
a lot of
KD,
money
baby.
coping on this
Yeah,
level.
right.
Like, oh, that explains the hot dog and the spaghetti so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, all right, boys. I mean, we're about an hour and a quarter into this. I guess we're gonna come up with a Halloween topic. We'll sit down. We'll discuss.
I got
that.
an idea for when we're
Do
done.
you?
Yes.
All right.
All right. Don't say it.
I'm in.
We'll save
Don't
it
say
for
it.
the next
I
week.
say nothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's make sure your idea doesn't suck before we announce
It
it.
doesn't. Mike doesn't have bad ideas.
No, I mean,
Oh, believe me, there are some. Believe you.
well,
me.
you know what? You got a pretty good record with us so far.
Both you guys, just every other facet of my life, my ideas are not good.
Your ideas are great, despite what your entire family tells you.
Basically, yes. That's pretty much where I'm going with that.
You know
That's
what?
okay.
And
I love them to death, so whatever. It's okay.
at the same time, you turn around and it's like, well, we got this and we got this. I'm so happy. I'm like, yeah, whose idea was that again? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the credit. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, been there, done that. Doing
Absolutely.
it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
Gypsy
Any
booking.
final thoughts at all? Sebastian, anything?
Nope.
Nope.
First, okay, thank you everybody for joining us. Don't forget to check us out on Apple and Spotify. Take us with you in your earbuds, or you can just check us out on YouTube. And honestly, you might be doing it right now.
Look at our
You
ugly
might not be
faces.
joining us live. But also, if you're getting up Saturday morning, 9:00 ish, Saturday morning, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, you can find us sitting here doing that. Jump in our comment section and join the bullshit session. We will be announcing next week's show so that we can get on whatever research. And very shortly, we'll announce our next watch along not watch along, deep dive into a David Fincher film.
Whichever one that may be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that list. I don't know, boys. There's a couple I haven't seen, but
The game is
I
calling
think
my
the
name, but we'll go.
yeah, I think the game and Fight Club are probably going to be the top two contenders here. So keep an eye out for that. Take your notes, watch along, watch it before the show, and then come and join us as we do our best cheap wish imitation version of How Did This Get Made, except with a good film.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
afternoon.
Happy Saturday.
I think Seb shorted out.
No, I'm here.